The great hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with angry voices. Representatives from dozens of alien races sat in their floating chairs, all talking at once. The massive room stretched high above them, its crystal walls showing the stars beyond. Today, they had gathered to solve what they called the human problem. Commander Zethkar of the Zilithian Empire stood up first. His blue skin gleamed under the bright lights, and his forearms moved as he spoke. "These humans have gone too far," he said, his voice deep and threatening. "In just 50 years, they have taken 17 worlds. 17. My people have owned those star systems for thousands of years." High Merchant Vextal nodded his large head. The Void Merchant's gray skin looked like stone, and his 6 eyes blinked slowly. "The humans disrupt our trade routes," he said in his slow, careful way. "They build their colonies too fast. They do not ask permission. They just take what they want." More voices joined in. The Corvin Federation's war chief Brulenex slammed his fist on his chair. "These humans think they can challenge us," he growled. "We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. They are nothing but children playing with toys." In the center of the great hall, Lisa Grant sat alone in a simple metal chair. She was the only human in the room, and all eyes were on her. She was young, maybe 30 years old, with brown hair tied back and wearing a plain blue uniform. The aliens had kept her locked up for weeks, but today they brought her here to listen to their decision. "The human speaks," announced the council leader, a tall being made of what looked like living crystal. "Tell us why we should not destroy your kind." Lisa stood up slowly. She looked small next to the giant aliens around her, but her voice was strong and clear. "Because you don't understand what you're starting," she said. "You think this is just about territory or trade routes. But if you declare war on humanity, you will learn something about us that you won't like." Commander Zethkar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "What could you possibly teach us, human? Your ships are slow and weak. Your weapons are simple. We have counted your fleet, only 300 ships. We have 10,000. "Numbers don't mean everything," Lisa replied. "You aliens fight by rules. You have honor codes and treaties. You try to win with the smallest cost. Humans are different. When we fight to win completely. We call it total war." The council leader's crystal body flashed with different colors. "Explain this total war." Lisa took a deep breath. "When humans go to war, we don't just fight your armies. We destroy your ability to make war. We target your factories, your supply lines, your home worlds. We don't stop until you surrender. Completely, or until you can't fight anymore." High Merchant Vextal's 6 eyes narrowed. "You threaten civilians? That is barbaric." "We evacuate civilians when we can," Lisa said. "But we will do whatever it takes to protect our people and our worlds. You see, humans learned something long ago. If you're going to fight, you fight to win. Half measures just make wars last longer and kill more people." War Chief Brulenex stood up, his massive form towering over everyone. "You dare threaten the Corvin Federation? We have conquered 100 worlds. Our warriors are bred for battle. Your soft humans would break before our might." "Maybe," Lisa said calmly. "But you've never fought humans before. You've never seen what we do when we're cornered. And you've never faced our real weapons." "Real weapons?" Commander Zethkar asked. "We have scanned your ships. We know your technology. Primitive kinetic weapons and simple explosives. Our shields will stop them easily." Lisa smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "You've seen our patrol ships and cargo vessels. You've never seen a human warship built for war. And you've never seen what humans can build when we're angry." The council leader raised one crystal hand. "Enough," We have heard the humans' words. Now we vote. All in favor of giving humanity 30 galactic standard days to withdraw from all contested systems? Every hand, claw, and tentacle in the room rose up. The vote was unanimous. And if they refuse? The council leader asked. Then we destroy them, War Chief Brulinak said. Every ship, every colony, every human in space. Let them return to their birth world and stay there. Lisa shook her head. You're making a terrible mistake. My government sent me here to prevent this war. I tried to warn you. When Admiral Jake Morrison gets your ultimatum, he won't surrender. He'll respond the only way humans know how. With what? Commander Zethkar laughed. Your tiny fleet? Your simple weapons? We will crush you in days. You'll see, Lisa said quietly. You'll all see. The aliens began to leave the Great Hall, talking excitedly about their easy victory. They were already planning how to divide up human worlds among themselves. Only Lisa remained in her chair, staring out at the stars. High Merchant Vextall stopped beside her. You seem very calm for someone whose species is about to be destroyed, he said. Lisa looked up at the gray alien. 3 days ago, our long-range sensors detected your fleet movements. My government knew this was coming. They activated something called Project Fury. What is Project Fury? I don't know all the details, Lisa said, but I heard part of a military transmission before they sent me here. It said, brace yourself. A human warship is incoming, and nothing will survive. Vextall's 6 eyes blinked slowly. Humans love to make threats. That wasn't a threat, Lisa replied. That was a warning. You aliens think you know humans because you've met our diplomats and traders. But you've never met our warriors. You've never seen what humans become when someone threatens our families. The alien merchant walked away, but Lisa's words followed him. Soon, the great hall was empty, except for the guards who came to take her back to her cell. As they led her away, Lisa looked one last time at the crystal walls showing the stars. Somewhere out there, Admiral Jake Morrison was preparing humanity's response. The aliens thought they were starting a simple war of conquest. They had no idea they had just awakened something terrible, something that would change the galaxy forever. The countdown had begun. In 30 days, the aliens would learn what it meant to fight humans, and by then, it would be too late to take back their vote. Deep in human space, far from any alien patrol, the Aurora shipyards floated in the darkness. The massive construction facility was hidden behind a gas giant, invisible to long-range scanners. For 5 years, humans had been building something. In secret. Something the aliens had never seen before. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center, reading the alien ultimatum for the 3rd time. His gray hair was cut short, military style, and his weathered face showed no emotion. Behind him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, their faces lit by the glow of computer screens. 30 days, Morrison said to himself. They think. They're being generous. Captain Ryan Walsh entered the command center. He was younger than Morrison, maybe 40 years old, with dark hair and sharp blue eyes. Walsh had fought in the border wars against human pirates, and he knew how to handle difficult situations. The Vengeance is ready, sir, Walsh reported. All systems are online. The crew is standing by. Morrison turned to look at his captain. Are you sure about this, Ryan? Once we launch, there's no going back. The aliens will know what we're capable of. They started this war, Admiral. They just don't know it yet. Morrison nodded slowly. Then let's show them what happens when you threaten humanity. The 2 men walked through the shipyard's corridors toward the docking bay. Through the windows, they could see the USS Vengeance, waiting for them. The ship was huge, bigger than any human vessel ever built. Its black hull seemed to absorb light, making it look like a piece of the void itself. Strange patterns covered its surface, not decorations, but the visible parts of weapon systems the aliens had never imagined. Not in the briefing room. Dr. Kate Phillips was waiting with the senior officers. She was a small woman with red hair and thick glasses, but her mind was one of the sharpest in human space. She had spent years studying captured alien technology, learning how it worked, and figuring out how to make it better. "Gentlemen," she began, "let me explain what you're flying. Into battle, the USS Vengeance isn't just a warship. It's a completely new kind of fighting machine." She pressed a button, and a hologram of the ship appeared in the air above the table. The aliens build their ships for efficiency and elegance. They use energy shields, plasma weapons, and predictable tactics. We built the Vengeance to kill alien ships. Lieutenant Sam Carter, the ship's tactical officer, leaned forward. "What makes us different?" "Everything," Dr. Phillips replied. "Start with the hull. Alien ships use lightweight materials and rely on shields for protection. We use dense armor, plating with kinetic barriers. Their weapons are designed to overwhelm shields with energy. Our armor is designed to stop physical impacts." She pointed to different parts of the hologram. "Our main weapons are railguns that fire depleted uranium slugs at 15% of light speed. No shield in the galaxy can stop them. We also carry fusion missiles with yields measured in gigatons. One missile can destroy a city." Chief Engineer Tony Rodriguez whistled softly. "And the power source?" "That's the real secret," Dr. Phillips smiled. "The Wrath Cannon. It's powered by a controlled black hole in the ship's core. We can generate more energy than an entire alien fleet." Captain Walsh studied the hologram. "What about their numerical advantage?" "They have 10,000 ships. They're thinking like aliens," Morrison said. "They expect us to fight like them, fleet against fleet, honor against honor. But we're not going to fight their way. We're going to fight like humans." Dr. Phillips nodded. "The Vengeance has something else the aliens don't understand. An artificial intelligence we call Fury. It can calculate firing solutions faster than any alien computer. It can predict enemy movements and adapt our tactics in real time." "Is it safe?" Lieutenant Carter asked. "An AI controlling our weapons?" "Fury doesn't control anything," Dr. Phillips explained. "It advises. It calculates. It helps us fight better and faster. But humans make all the decisions." Morrison stood up. "Gentlemen, let me be clear about our mission. The aliens want to destroy humanity. They think we're weak because we're young. They're about to learn that being young doesn't mean being helpless." He walked to the window and looked out at the Vengeance. "We're not going to fight their entire fleet. We're going to hit them where it hurts most. The Corvin system. They've assembled their biggest fleet there, thinking we'll attack with everything we have." "And instead?" Walsh asked. "Instead, we're sending one ship. This ship, we're going to show them what human warfare really looks like." The briefing continued for another hour. Dr. Phillips explained the ship's other systems, the advanced sensors that could track enemies at impossible distances, the stealth technology that made them nearly invisible, the redundant systems that kept them fighting even when damaged. "Remember," she said, "alien ships are built to be perfect. Ours is built to be tough. When their elegant systems fail, ours keep working. When their efficient designs break, ours adapt and overcome." As the officers filed out to prepare their departments, Morrison pulled Walsh aside. "Ryan, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about winning a battle. We're setting the tone for humanity's future in this galaxy." "I understand, sir. Do you?" "Because what we're about to do will change everything. The aliens see us as primitive and weak. After today, they'll see us as something else entirely." Walsh nodded. What do you want them to see? The truth. That humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy when we're angry. That attacking us was the biggest mistake they ever made. 2 hours later, the USS Vengeance launched from the Aurora shipyards. The ship's engines glowed with blue fire as it accelerated toward the hyperspace jump point. On the bridge, Captain Walsh sat in the command chair, watching the star streak. Past. Fury online, reported Lieutenant Carter. AI systems are functioning normally. Engineering ready, called Chief Rodriguez. All weapons systems are charged and ready. Communications ready, added Lieutenant Ashley Brooks. We're receiving updates from Fleet Command. Walsh looked at the main screen, where their destination was marked with a red dot. The Corvin system, home to the enemy's largest fleet. In 3 days, they would arrive. In 3 days, the aliens would learn what it meant to fight humans. Take us to hyperspace, Walsh ordered. The stars vanished as the USS Vengeance jumped into the void between realities. The ship raced through dimensions that alien minds couldn't understand, carrying death toward an enemy that had no idea what was coming. Back at the Aurora shipyards, Admiral Morrison watched the ship disappear. Around him, his staff worked frantically to prepare for what would come next. The aliens would respond to the Vengeance's attack. They would send their fleets to human space, expecting to find a weak enemy ready to surrender. Instead, they would find more ships like the Vengeance. Ships built in secret, crewed by humans who had been preparing for this war their entire lives. Ships designed to do one thing perfectly: destroy alien fleets. The countdown continued. In 30 days, the alien ultimatum would expire. But the war would start much sooner than that. It would start the moment the USS Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace in the Corvin system, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Corvin home system was a sight to see. Corva Prime, the fortress world, hung in space like a giant metal ball. Its surface was covered with cities, weapons platforms, and shield generators. Around the planet, over 2,000 alien warships floated in perfect formation. Admiral Korvac stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Fury. He was massive even for a Corvin, standing nearly 8 feet tall with thick gray skin and 4 powerful arms. His red eyes glowed as he watched his fleet through the main view screen. "Status report," he commanded, his voice like grinding stones. "All ships in position, Admiral," reported his tactical officer. 2,147 vessels ready for battle. Planetary shields at maximum power. Our scouts report no human activity in nearby systems. Admiral Korvac smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The humans are taking their time. Perhaps they realize how hopeless their situation is. General Hector, the planetary defense commander, joined them on the bridge. "Our intelligence says the humans have only 300 ships total. Even if they bring their entire fleet, we outnumber them 7 to 1. "More than that," Korvac replied. "Human ships are primitive. Their weapons are simple kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. Our shields will stop them easily. Our plasma cannons will cut through their armor like it's paper." The bridge crew laughed at the thought of human weapons trying to damage their advanced ships. They had been preparing for this battle for weeks, and every simulation showed the same result: total human defeat in less than an hour. "Admiral," called the sensor officer, "we're detecting a hyperspace emergence at the edge of the system." Korvac turned to the main screen. "How many ships?" "Sir, it's just one." The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen, where a single dot appeared near the system's outer planets. The human fleet they expected never came. Instead, one lone ship had dropped out of hyperspace, 3 astronomical units away from the main Corvin fleet. "One ship?" General Hector asked. "Are you certain?" Yes, sir. It's definitely human design, but it's much larger than their usual vessels. And, sir, it's not responding to our hails. Admiral Korvac studied the distant contact. Perhaps it's a diplomatic vessel, or maybe a scout that got lost. Send 50 ships to capture it intact. I want to question the crew before we destroy them. Captain Ryan Walsh stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance, watching the alien fleet through his advanced sensors. The Corvin ships looked impressive in their tight formation, but Walsh could see their weaknesses. They were bunched together for mutual protection, making them perfect targets for area effect weapons. Fury, analyze the enemy formation, Walsh ordered. The ship's AI responded immediately. Analysis complete, Captain. Enemy vessels are using standard Corvin tactical doctrine. They expect us to close to short range for a traditional engagement. They have not adjusted their formation for long-range combat. Lieutenant Sam Carter looked up from his tactical station. Sir, 50 enemy ships are breaking formation and heading our way. They're not taking us seriously. Perfect, Walsh said. That's exactly what we want. Charge the railguns and prepare fusion missiles. Target the lead ships in that formation. Sir, Lieutenant Ashley Brooks called from communications. The enemy is trying to contact us. They're demanding we surrender for interrogation. Walsh smiled coldly. No response. Let them wonder what we're doing. The 50 Corvin ships approached at what they considered a safe distance, still over 1 astronomical unit away. In their experience, no weapon could be accurate at such extreme range. They had no idea that human rail guns could hit targets at distances that would make alien weapons engineers weep. Firing solution locked, Carter reported. All weapons ready. Fire, Walsh commanded. The USS Vengeance unleashed hell. 6 railguns fired simultaneously, launching depleted uranium slugs at 15% of light speed. The projectiles were invisible to the naked eye, moving too fast for normal sensors to track. 3 seconds later, they reached their targets. The lead Corvin ship simply vanished. One moment it was there, a proud warship with a crew of 800. The next moment, there was only an expanding cloud of debris. The railgun slug had hit with the force of a nuclear weapon, vaporizing the entire vessel instantly. Before the other Corvin ships could react, more slugs arrived. Ship after ship disappeared in flashes of light and scattered metal. The aliens' shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were useless against solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. What's happening? Admiral Korvac roared on his flagship. Report! His sensor officer's voice shook with fear. Sir, the lead squadron is gone. All 50 ships destroyed. The human vessel fired some kind of kinetic weapon at impossible range. Impossible. No weapon can be accurate at that distance. Sir, they're firing again. More railgun slugs crossed the void. The second wave of Corvin ships, trying to retreat, found themselves caught in the open. Their attempts to dodge were useless. The Vengeance's AI predicted their movements and adjusted targeting accordingly. Captain Walsh watched the destruction through his view screen. Fury, how many enemy ships destroyed? 73 vessels eliminated, Captain. Enemy formation is breaking apart. They appear to be in complete disarray. Good. Launch fusion missiles at the remaining ships. Then set course for the main fleet. The USS Vengeance began to move, its engines glowing with blue fire. As it accelerated toward the Corvin home world, it launched a spread of fusion missiles at the surviving ships from the first attack. Each missile carried a warhead with the power of a small star. When they detonated, the remaining Corvin vessels were consumed in miniature suns. Admiral Korvac stared at his tactical display in horror. In less than 10 minutes, the humans had destroyed an entire squadron without taking a single hit in return. And now the alien ship was heading straight for his main fleet. "All ships, attack formation," he commanded. "Concentrate fire on that vessel. It cannot stand against 2,000 ships." The Corvin fleet moved to intercept the USS Vengeance, but they were thinking like aliens. They expected a traditional battle where ships lined up and traded shots until one side surrendered. They didn't understand human tactics. Instead of charging into their formation, the Vengeance began a complex dance around the edge of their fleet. It would appear at maximum weapons range, fire its devastating rail guns, then disappear into the void before the aliens could respond. Each attack destroyed dozens of ships. Each retreat left the Corvins firing at empty space. "They're using hit-and-run tactics," General Hektar observed, "like pirates or raiders. Cowards." Korvac snarled. "They won't stand and fight like warriors." "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "we've lost over 300 ships. The human vessel appears to be undamaged." The battle continued for 2 hours. The USS Vengeance moved through space like a ghost, striking without warning and vanishing before retaliation could arrive. Its advanced stealth systems made it nearly impossible to track between attacks. Its speed allowed it to choose when and where to fight. The Corvin fleet, designed for traditional warfare, found itself helpless against an enemy that refused to follow the rules. Ship after ship fell to the human rail guns. Crews that had never known defeat watched their comrades die while their own weapons couldn't even find targets. Finally, Admiral Korvac found himself commanding less than 200 ships. The rest of his proud fleet was scattered debris floating in the void. And the human vessel was still coming, still killing his people with each attack. "Sir," his communications officer said, "the human ship is broadcasting." Captain Walsh's voice filled the Corvin bridge, cold and emotionless. "Corvin fleet, this is the USS Vengeance. You have one chance to surrender. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded, or join your friends in the void." "Never," Korvac roared. "Corvins do not surrender to inferior species." "Your choice," Walsh replied. The USS Vengeance stopped dancing around the fleet's edge. Instead, it accelerated straight toward the remaining ships, all weapons firing. Railguns and fusion missiles turned the final battle into a slaughter. In minutes, the entire Corvin fleet was destroyed. Only Admiral Korvac's flagship remained, its shields failing under the constant bombardment. As explosions rocked his bridge, the proud Corvin commander realized what Lisa Grant had tried to tell. The Galactic Council. Humans didn't fight like other species. They fought to win, no matter the cost. The dominant Fury died in a ball of nuclear fire, taking its crew and its admiral with it. The USS Vengeance floated alone among the wreckage of 2,000 ships, its black hull unmarked by enemy fire. Captain Walsh wasn't finished. He turned his attention to Corva Prime itself, the fortress world that had never been conquered. It was time to show the galaxy what happened to planets that threatened humanity. The real lesson was just beginning. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's long history. Representatives who had maintained dignified composure for centuries now shouted at each other across the Great Hall. The crystal walls that usually showed peaceful star fields now displayed tactical reports from the Corvin system. High Counselor Yith Ara of the Zilithian Empire tried to maintain order, her forearms raised for silence. Her blue skin had turned pale with shock. "Order, we must have order," but chaos ruled the chamber. The void merchants huddled together, their gray faces twisted with fear. The Corvin survivors who had escaped the system's destruction wept openly for their lost fleets. Other species that had voted for war now desperately tried to distance themselves from the decision. Lisa Grant sat in the same metal chair where she had warned them about human warfare. But now her chains were gone. Now the aliens looked at her. with something between fear and respect. Guards stood nearby, but they were there to protect her, not imprison her. 2,000 ships, whispered High Merchant Vextal, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly. 2,000 of our finest vessels, destroyed by a single human ship. How is this possible? War Chief Brolinax of the remaining Corvan forces slammed his massive fist on his chair. My people are dead. My fleets are gone. And where were the rest of you when humanity showed its true face? We thought you could handle 1 ship, replied Ambassador Kefmer of the Spiral Alliance. You boasted that Corvan warriors were unbeatable. You said human weapons were primitive toys. They are, Brulinax roared. But these weren't the weapons we scanned. This human ship used technology we've never seen before. Kinetic weapons that move faster than light itself. Energy beams that can melt continents. High Counselor Yithora managed to restore some quiet to the chamber. We need facts, not emotions. What exactly happened in the Corvan system? A holographic display appeared in the center of the hall. It showed the battle from beginning to end, the arrival of the USS Vengeance, the destruction of the scouting force, the systematic annihilation of the main fleet, and finally the attack on Corva Prime itself. The representatives watched in stunned silence as the human ship moved through space like a predator, striking from impossible distances with weapons that vaporized everything they touched. They saw proud Corvan warships reduced to expanding clouds of debris. They saw a fortress world that had stood for millennia, scarred by artificial suns. The human ship never took damage, observed Ambassador Trixon of the Collective Minds. Their shields, their armor, their speed, all superior to our technology. How long have they been preparing for this war? Lisa Grant stood up slowly. All eyes turned to her as she walked to the center of the chamber. You want to know how long we've been preparing? Since first contact. Since the moment we learned we weren't alone in the galaxy. Explain, demanded High Counselor Yithara. When humans first met alien species, we did what we always do. We studied you. We learned your strengths and weaknesses. We observed your military tactics, your technology, your ways of thinking. And we realized something important. She paused, looking around the chamber at faces that ranged from fearful to furious. You've all been at peace for so long that you've forgotten how to fight a real war. You have rules and codes of honor. You try to win with minimum casualties. You fight to gain territory or resources, not to destroy your enemies completely. And humans are different? Ambassador Kefmer asked. Completely different. Humans spent thousands of years fighting each other on our home world. We learned that in a real war, there are no rules except survival. We learned that sometimes you have to be more brutal than your enemy to protect the people you love. High Merchant Vextal leaned forward. But your fleet is small. 300 ships cannot defeat 10,000, no matter how advanced. Lisa smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. 300 ships? Is that what you think? That's just our patrol fleet, the ships we use to guard trade routes and escort cargo vessels. Our real military is something else entirely. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. Emergency lights flashed red as the Council's defense systems detected incoming vessels. The main display switched to show space around the Council station. Dozens of human ships were dropping out of hyperspace around the station. But these weren't the small patrol vessels the aliens had cataloged. These were massive warships, each one larger than the USS Vengeance. Their black hulls bristled with weapons that made alien engineers weep just looking at them. The USS Retribution requests permission to dock, announced Lieutenant Ashley Brooks' voice over the communication system. Captain Elena Martinez wishes to speak with the Galactic Council. The chamber fell silent. Through the crystal walls, they could see the human fleet surrounding their station. The ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons trained on the Council's defenses. It was clear that the station's shields and guns would last maybe seconds against such firepower. "How many ships?" whispered High Counselor Yith Ara. 47 vessels detected," replied the station's AI, "all of unknown human design. All heavily armed." Lisa Grant looked around the chamber with satisfaction. "This is just a rapid response fleet. The ships we keep ready for emergencies. Would you like to know how many more we have in reserve?" Before anyone could answer, new alarms sounded. More human ships were arriving throughout alien space. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Human warships appearing at trade stations, military bases, and colony worlds. Not attacking, just watching. Waiting. Ambassador Rick Hayes materialized on the chamber's main platform, his image transmitted from the USS Retribution. He was older than Lisa, maybe 50, with gray hair and kind eyes that held no kindness. "Now, members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice echoing through the silent chamber. "I am Ambassador Hayes of the United Human Federation. I come to discuss the terms of your surrender." "Surrender?" War Chief Brulanax jumped to his feet. "We have not surrendered. This war has barely begun." Hayes looked at the Corvin leader with pity. "War Chief, your entire home fleet was destroyed by a single human vessel. Your fortress world has a new crater where your capital city used to be. What exactly are you going to fight with?" "The combined fleets of the galaxy," Brulanax declared. "We still outnumber you. Do you?" Hayes asked. "Computer, display current alien military assets." The holographic display showed a map of the galaxy with red dots marking alien military installations. As they watched, many of the dots began turning gray. Gray indicates facilities that are currently under the guns of human warships. Hayes explained calmly. "As you can see, we've positioned vessels at every major military base in alien space. One word from me, and they all follow the Corvin fleet into oblivion." High Counselor Euthera's voice shook as she spoke. "What do you want?" "Simple. Immediate cessation of all hostilities. Recognition of all human territorial claims. War reparations for the unprovoked attack on human space. And the establishment of human naval bases in key strategic systems." "And if we refuse?" Ambassador Kethmer asked. Hayes' expression didn't change, but his words carried the weight of absolute certainty. "Then every alien military installation will be destroyed. Every hostile world will be rendered uninhabitable. We will continue until you have no choice but to accept our terms." "You're talking about genocide," High Merchant Vextal said quietly. "No," Lisa Grant replied. "We're talking about ending this war permanently. We'll evacuate civilian populations before we destroy military targets. But we will destroy those targets. All of them. We won't make the mistake of leaving you capable of threatening humanity again." The chamber erupted in frightened voices as representatives realized the scope of human preparation. This wasn't a hastily assembled response to their ultimatum. This was a carefully planned operation that had been in development for years. War Chief Brulanax raised one last defiant cry. "Some of us will never surrender. Some of us will fight to the last ship." "That's your choice," Ambassador Hayes replied. "But remember the Corvin system, and ask yourself, is it worth testing human resolve again?" The broadcast ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Around the galaxy, alien commanders stared at human warships through their view screens and wondered how they had so badly underestimated their enemy. The war was over. They just didn't know it yet. 6 months had passed since the Corvin system's destruction, and the galaxy was a very different place. The old Galactic Council building had been torn down and replaced with the headquarters of the United Galactic Federation. The new structure was impressive but practical. built with human efficiency rather than alien elegance. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in his office at the top of the building, looking out at the busy space traffic below. Ships from dozens of species moved in orderly patterns, following new traffic control systems designed by human engineers. Everything ran smoother now, faster and more efficiently than it had in centuries. "Admiral," his aide announced, "President Clark is ready for the morning briefing." Morrison nodded and walked to the conference room. President Susan Clark was already there, studying reports on her tablet. She was a small woman with short gray hair and sharp intelligence that had helped negotiate the new galactic government. "Good. Morning, Jake," she said without looking up. "I've been reading the reports from the outer systems. Trade is up 40% since we established the new shipping routes. Piracy is down to almost nothing." "The protection fleets are working," Morrison replied, taking his seat. "When merchants know human warships are patrolling the trade lanes, they're willing to carry more valuable cargo." The door opened, and Lisa Grant entered, now wearing the uniform of a Federation ambassador. Behind her came Dr. Kate Phillips, who had been promoted to Director of Galactic Technology Development. The morning briefing was about to begin. "Status report," President Clark requested. Lisa activated the holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colored zones. Green zones represent fully integrated Federation systems. Yellow zones are systems still adapting to the new government. Red zones are areas where we still have resistance. Morrison studied the map. Most of the galaxy was green now, with only a few scattered red dots remaining. "What about the Zilithian holdouts?" "Commander Zethkar is still trying to organize what he calls the Liberation Front," Lisa replied. "But his support is dropping every week. Most Zilithians have realized they're better off under Federation protection than fighting a war they can't win." Dr. Phillips leaned forward. "The technology sharing program is exceeding expectations. Alien scientists are amazed at what they can accomplish when they combine their knowledge with human engineering principles." "Give me an example," President Clark said. "The Void merchants developed incredible long-range sensors, but they were fragile and expensive. We showed them how to make them stronger and cheaper using human manufacturing techniques. Now every merchant ship in the galaxy can afford sensors that were once available only to military vessels." Morrison nodded approvingly. "What about military cooperation?" "Better than we hoped," Lisa replied. "Captain Walsh has been training alien officers at the Naval Academy. They're eager to learn human tactics and strategy. Some of them are better students than our own people." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from the communications center. A new contact had arrived at the Federation's outer border, a massive alien vessel of unknown design. It was requesting permission to approach the capital. "Unknown design?" Morrison asked. "Are we looking at a new threat?" "No, sir," the communications officer replied. "The ship is broadcasting Corvan identification codes. It appears to be War Chief Brulinax returning from the Outer Rim." President Clark and Admiral Morrison exchanged glances. Brulinax had been the most vocal opponent of human rule. After the destruction of his home fleet, he had taken his remaining ships and disappeared into unexplored space, vowing to return with allies to drive humanity from the galaxy. "Permission granted," Morrison said finally, "but escort him in with a full squadron. I want to know what he's been up to." 2 hours later, War Chief Brulinax stood in the Federation Council chamber, but he looked very different from the proud warrior who had declared war on humanity. His gray skin was scarred from battles, and his forearms showed the effects of hard living in deep space. Most surprisingly, he was alone. None of his warriors accompanied him. President Clark sat at the head of the council table, with Admiral Morrison and Ambassador Grant on either side. Representatives from a dozen alien species filled the other seats, all of them curious about what the former rebel leader had to say. War Chief Brulenax, President Clark began formally, you stand before the United Galactic Federation as a former enemy combatant. What brings you back to civilized space? Brulenax straightened his massive frame and looked directly at the human president. I come to surrender and to request membership in your federation. The chamber fell silent. This was the last thing anyone had expected from the proud Corvin leader. Explain, Admiral Morrison said. 6 months ago, I took my remaining ships and went looking for allies. I traveled to the edge of known space, to systems that had never heard of humans. I told them about your weapons, your tactics, your expansion into our territory. He paused, his red eyes reflecting old pain. They laughed at me, just as we laughed at your ambassador when she warned us about human warfare. They said no single species could challenge the established order of the galaxy. And then? Lisa Grant prompted. Then I showed them the recordings from the Corvin system. I showed them what one human ship did to 2,000 of ours. The laughter stopped very quickly. War Chief Brulenax walked to the chamber's window and looked out at the busy space traffic. But it wasn't fear that convinced me to return. It was what I saw while I was out there. What did you see? President Clark asked. Chaos, piracy, systems. At war with each other over resources and territory. Weak species being bullied by strong ones. All the things that happened in our space before humans arrived. He turned back to face the council. You didn't just conquer us. You brought order. You made the galaxy safer for everyone, not just humans. Trade flows freely now. Weak systems are protected. Even former enemies like my people are rebuilding with your help. Morrison leaned back in his chair. So, you want to join the Federation? My people need what you offer. Security, prosperity. A chance to be part of something greater than ourselves. We were fools to resist you. Dr. Phillips spoke up from her seat. What about your warriors? Your military tradition? Brulenax smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Captain Walsh offered my people positions in the Federation Navy. Corvin warriors. Serving alongside humans, protecting the galaxy instead of trying to conquer it. It's a better path than the one I chose 6 months ago. President Clark considered his words carefully. The Federation has a place for any species willing to follow our laws and contribute to galactic peace. But you personally led attacks against Federation forces. You killed human personnel. I did, Brulenax admitted. And I accept whatever punishment you deem appropriate. But I ask that you not punish my people for my mistakes. Admiral Morrison stood up and walked over to the former war chief. The human was much smaller than the massive alien, but there was no question who held the power in this room. War Chief, 6 months ago you swore to drive humanity from the galaxy. Today, you're asking to join us. How do I know this isn't some kind of trick? Brulenax knelt on one knee, a gesture of submission that shocked every alien in the room. Corvin warriors never knelt to anyone. Because I've seen what lies beyond Federation space, and I've seen what exists within it. Outside your borders, the galaxy is falling apart. Inside them, it's becoming something better than it's ever been. He looked up at Morrison. You humans didn't just win a war. You're building a civilization that works for everyone, even your former enemies. President Clark made her decision. War Chief Brulenax, the United Galactic Federation, accepts your surrender and your people's application. For membership, you will serve a probationary period working with Captain Walsh to train new Federation officers. If you prove your commitment to our ideals, full citizenship will follow. As the formal ceremony concluded, Morrison found himself thinking about how much had changed. 6 months ago, the galaxy had been divided into dozens of competing factions, each looking out only for themselves. Today, most of those factions worked together under human leadership. The irony wasn't lost on him. Humanity had become the galaxy's protectors by proving they were its most dangerous predators. The aliens had learned to trust human leadership because they feared human warfare. Later that evening, Morrison stood on the observation deck of the USS Eternity, the Federation's newest flagship. Captain Ryan Walsh joined him at the railing, both men looking out at the stars. "Any regrets about how this all turned out?" Walsh asked. Morrison considered the question. "We never wanted to rule the galaxy, Ryan. We just wanted to be left alone to build our colonies and raise our families. And now? Now we're responsible for 300 billion alien lives across 2,000 star systems. Sometimes I wonder if we were better off when nobody knew we existed." Walsh pointed to a convoy of merchant ships passing nearby, escorted by Federation patrol vessels. "Those merchants are carrying food and medicine to colony worlds that were starving 6 months ago. Children who would have died in the old system are alive because of what we built." Morrison nodded slowly. "I suppose that makes it worthwhile." The two men stood in comfortable silence, watching the galaxy turn under